to me, offensive line, you can sum it up 3 words: tough, smart, physical. Those are non-negotiable. Toughness, I think, Ryan came up, Jensen yesterday, talked about playing through injuries. Teron came up, talked about it, touched on it a little bit. Toughness, I had a college coach tell me, toughness is never physical. It's a decision. You decide, are you going to go? Your body doesn't feel right. The best day, the best you're going to feel is the day you report to training camp for the next however many months that is. That's the best you're going to feel. Day 2, you're not going to feel so great, and it's just going to snowball from there. So at some point, I think the common theme is, this is a very unique position group, the offensive line in any sport. Stink alluded to it yesterday. And, you spend hours practicing getting in that mesh with the guy next to you, knowing what he's going to do pre-snap based on what the alignment is. You know how quick he can get to the backside cutoff, a 3 technique. If you're a guard, you need to know how much that all comes from practice repetition. And at some point during the year, you're going to be banged up. You're going to get a high ankle. You're going to get an MCL. You're going to get something that's going to make you make a decision. Are you going to let the guy down next to you because you're more worried about this banged up knee or whatever it is you got going on? That's toughness. It's a decision. You decide if you're going to go. Smart. We've talked about it. I was going to save this for later. I'll touch on it, but there's a lot of guys in this room know what I do. I'm in the scouting world as a consultant in the NFL. There's a lot of guys that are now in the league that I had the privilege and opportunity to interview at either the Senior Bowl, Combine, and for you college kids coming up that are getting ready to go into the process after this last year of college, I would tell you, be a student of the game. Don't just know what your position's doing, because I don't want to hear that. I want to hear if you're a left tackle, I want you to know what the right guard's doing on any given play. I want you to be a football player. That's smart to me. Knowing what the receiver's going to do. Stink talked about it as he got older in his career. Not only did he have to know what the linemen were doing, that's non-negotiable, but he gave himself an advantage because he knew what the routes were. He knew when that quarterback was getting rid of the ball. He knew where that quarterback's launch point was. So he knew where he could get beat and what he had to take away from a defender to get successful on that play. That's smart. Knowing everything you can know about the game, the offense, what your defense is doing, tips, watching film, watching what that defensive guy aligns, how he aligns when he loops, how is he off the ball. Look at the sideline copy. Don't just look at the end zone. Watch tips. See a guy, if he's the last one putting his hand down, chances are he's dropping. It's probably a fire zone coming the opposite way. I mean, those are all things you can pick up from film study. And it doesn't require anything other than a little bit extra time. Smart, tough, physical. First thing I do when I turn on a film, if I'm evaluating a college player, how does he finish? If you're playing, it's because you probably have good enough feet. You're strong enough. You're quick enough to do the things that the coaches are asking. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on film for me to watch. But how do you finish? Do you take 2 steps, get your hands on a guy, and then start watching for the ball carrier as a tackle to see if you got to finish the guy? Or are you playing like Ryan Jensen, who anytime you turn on the film, he's an asshole. He's 15 yards down the field, knocking the guy in the ground, and when that guy gets up, he's going to go hit him again. That's what I want to see. I want to see an attitude. I want to see a guy that wants to impose his will on the guy he's playing against, because frankly, this game doesn't have enough of that anymore. And this is a pass-happy league. We've talked about it for a couple days now. But back in the day, as an offensive lineman, you loved running the ball and punishing the defense because you felt like they had to play good enough to stop the run to earn the right to rush the passer. Nowadays, these guys, they're spoiled. They come out, they know they're going to throw the ball 50 times a game, so they just know they got to, not give up a big run, get out of their gap, but they're looking to get up the field. When you have an opportunity to run the ball and punish the guy who's trying to just run you over every play, take it out on him. Take that stinger out. Physical. So Those are the three things for me that are non-negotiable.
And I'll echo on that. I'll just say, accountability. You guys, some of you coming out, and the young men that talked yesterday and told me they got off to a good start and got in there to play. My whole deal coming into camp, because guys that got off to a tough start, there was some tackles that hadn't played so well, was to get in camp on time and learn the system. We had Big Tootie, we had a big lineman, and we had some tough training camps, and he popped his shoulder out, and I think the Saints had given him like $500,000 that year, and then we ended up cutting him after we played in the American Bowl, and then I ended up playing every down my rookie year. So, I just wanted to make sure I was accountable, get off to a good start. I didn't come out the game, like Hutch said, till I had an MCL sprain in my 4th year, and I had a 3rd-degree sprain, and I had to come out for a few weeks, but I didn't miss a down for 3.5 years till I got that sprain. So, my thing was being accountable. We wasn't dressing with 7 linemen back then. They were dressing other positions. We wasn't dressing 8, 9 linemen. It was 7 guys. You had a guy that was going to play center or both guards, or you had a guy playing swing tackles. They wasn't dressing that many linemen, and you had to play, and we had tough camps. So you guys have to understand, it's serious. And then when you think about it, after a few years, I don't want to let the guy beside me down. I need to be in that lineup because I know they're depending on me. I know the quarterback's depending on me. I know how important it is for me to be on the field. And it's a short lifespan, guys. Coach Dickey used to say it all the time. I knew Teron coming out of college. Teron, I left my 9th year like you left. And I went to Kansas City. You on a new team. Now it's your stretch run of you being in the NFL. Think about how fast that went by. It goes by like this. And then I look back on it and you say, what could I have done better? What could I have done to extend my career? I did, when I was young, I was just a good athlete. I didn't have to do a lot of things. I had good feet, good hands. I could get away stuff. And then I had that point in my career where I started slipping and gained weight and kicking it. And then I had to become a pro. And then I tore my knee up. And after 9 years, I got ran out of town in New Orleans. And nobody wanted to touch me. And I got to Kansas City. Excuse me. It hurt, man. And I got to finish my career on the best line in the league. And it meant something. So it's serious, man. It's serious. Out on that field, what y'all do, what we did is serious. It's not a game, man. That's why we get, I got a chance to get to the hall. It's serious. Thank you.
That is non-negotiable. That fucking passion, and you can't fake that shit. So he just showed you what it is, how much playing means to a guy like Big Will, and I would argue his feet was amazing, not good. So, but that right there is what you need to make it in this sport. It has to mean that much to you when you show up, when you play, when you're accountable for your team. You love New Orleans that much. I love the Bears that much. When I left to New Orleans, that hurt too. So you end up loving your team because you're playing for your teammates. I had a college coach tell me one time, I thought I could leave early, which I did, Washington, but I was playing horrible my first 2 or 3 games. I thought I was. And I asked him, what he thinks is going on. And he said, Olin, play for the team and everything else falls into place. And that's what I ended up starting to do. Just play for the guys next to me, play for the team. You hear people talk about accountability, talk about toughness, talk about playing through injuries, fighting through things. That's all non-negotiable, man. And your off-season work, the weight room, that's non-negotiable. And the weight room is for you. Big Willie, both of them, they probably don't have to train as heavy as I have to train. So I had to get in the weight room and I had to train heavy, and that was non-negotiable for me. I had to try to put as much strength on as I could. So when you leave here, you probably don't need a vacation if you haven't played very many games. So go get your ass in the weight room, go get some work in. That should be non-negotiable for you, the kind of work ethic you put in. So that right there, to me, what Big Willie just showed you, that's everything, man. That passion, how much you care for your teammates, how much you care for what we would probably call our craft. Playing offensive line is not for fun for me. Playing offensive line was actually my life. That's my work. That's what I love doing. I still study offensive line play because that's what I'm in love with. That's what I love I love watching offensive line film. I love watching new technique. I love watching Ryan Jensen make Eddie Goldman punch him in the end zone. I love that kind of stuff. I love, people driving people crazy on the field, running down the field. I love watching Quentin Nelson run to the pile and pick guys up every time. He goes and picks his running back up. And I always ask guys, if the best left guard in the NFL can run to the pile and pick somebody up, what the hell are you doing? Why can't you get to the pile? Why can't you hustle on every play? So that kind of stuff, to me, I wonder why more guys don't do it. I wonder why when you run naked, you're stopping and staring at everybody instead of hitting somebody in the head. Like, to me, that's non-negotiable. I'm going to take every play to try to strike somebody as hard as I can, because that's why we're on the football field. So those are little things you can put on film. And Hutch just told you. He watches film. He scouts. He told you what he's looking for. So my question is, when I turn your film on, why the hell are you not doing it? Like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why you're not running to the pile. I don't understand why you're not helping guys up. I don't understand why a fight breaks out, why you're not in the middle of it. I just don't. That stuff baffles me when I watch people's film. So if you want to take things and make non-negotiable and stand out, those are the things you should do. It should matter that much. And if you're second, third string, or you don't have a job, or you're trying to earn a job, those things are absolutely non-negotiable. He just told you. The guy sitting there just told you what everybody's looking for. But yeah, you're not doing it. So that stuff is what I wonder about. Those are things that you should be doing. Those are things that are absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah. One thing I've learned is these past 2 days here is something that I already knew about, but you get a chance to see the former guys and the current guys playing right now. You get a chance to see how different everyone is. You know what I mean? Everyone has a different approach to, like Cruz was saying, with training, with, guys have different techniques, coaches have different techniques. And, there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know what I mean? So I think taking away from this, the young guys, you guys learning the mindset of what these guys who are in the league doing, and what the former guys, what they've already displayed as far as mindset. It all comes to the same thing. Guys play with passion. Guys, I always wonder, like, what makes a great lineman, and how does a bad lineman be so bad? Like, I always be interested in that. Like damn, like, why can't you understand this? And I realize it's not about a technique or a style. It's about that person's mindset. When this man who's a Hall of Famer, who I told you the story in college, that I looked up to him in college. We passed around, he had one game his senior year against Alabama that we passed that film around our dorm room for like freaking 3-4 months of Willie Roaf playing against my boy Eric Kerr. And he dominated it. So to hear him 20-some odd years later, 30-some years later, still having that passion about football, and like, we all was cut. I was cut too, you know what I mean? But to still have that passion after all these years displays to me the difference between great players and guys who are just average. I mean, you see great players, and I say all the time to guys, the great players can play a whole game with a smile on their face, but in their mind, they're trying to really fuck you up. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And excuse my language, but guys can, offensive linemen, we said yesterday, you can't play a whole game just mad and enraged. You see all the great players, it looks as if they're not doing a whole lot because guys just understand the game, but when they get their hands on you, they're trying to destroy you. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes with younger guys, you guys have to understand the biggest thing to me for a younger guy is to figure out, how do I stay in the league past 1 year? You know what I mean? Because you can be in and out and be gone. And it takes everything these guys said. It takes film study. It takes passion. It takes you finishing on the pod. Like I tell college guys all the time, like, man, how can I get to the league? I said, well, your film has to say you're league ready. If your film don't say that, you're not going to the league. You know what I mean? If you're an NFL guy right now in the league, well, how do I get to all pro status? Well, there's certain things, like Cruz said, that are non-negotiable things you got to do. You know what I mean? And it all comes back down to a mindset, I think, as far as what you want out of yourself as a player. You know what I mean? Like, my first 7 years with the Bengals, we lost a lot of damn games. Lost a lot. You know what I mean? And I learned something early on about self-pride. Like, you know, me and my guy beside me, whether I'm playing left tackle or right tackle, my guard beside me, we can't dictate whether he's going to throw interceptions or not. We can't dictate if the cornerback going to give up 2 touchdowns. We can't dictate that. But what I can dictate is after this game was over with, like I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And, back then, everybody stayed in Atlanta. You know what I mean? And my pride was, my boy Tequila Spikes and our pride was, when we seen you out in the street somewhere in the club, yeah, y'all won the game. But we threw the ball 40 freaking times, and you ain't sniffed the quarterback. And to me, that's personal pride. And I think I always took it as a credit of what the turnaround we had in Cincinnati, because I was there when it was bad, and I got there when it started to get better. And I would tell the young guys, like, look, man, like, I know how I feel to be 2-14. But can you be 2-14 and still be considered one of the best in the league at your position? Or do you just let, the ESPN or whoever just dictate how bad you guys are? We was getting called all kind of names, the bungles and all this stuff. But my self-pride and guys like myself, and there were several other guys that we took self-pride into what your work is. I had a coach one time, Paul Alexander, had a speech one time for us at Christmas. By Christmas one year, we was done out of the playoffs, and he said he was in Walmart, and this girl had a line full of people, like all the lines were filled up, all 6, 7 lines. And he said he went to the one girl line, he said that she was just rapidly getting stuff done. So he said he changed line and got her line. And he said he got to the front, he asked her, say, how do you stay so calm and with all this chaos going on around you? Like, how you stay so calm? And she said, his job is not my job. Her job is not my job. I got a job to do. I got to get this line to get down. And she said, I'm going to be focused on that. And I think that comes in play with offensive line play. Like, there's so much stuff going on. All these guys have been, these guys have won a lot of games, won more games than I have. But we all been down in the games and we like, yo, we can't make one mistake, because we got to get the ball down 60 yards. If I give up a pressure or a sack, the game is over with. And no one remembers how well we played for 3 quarters. They're going to remember you in that last minute, 30 seconds, giving a pressure up or giving a sack up. So to me, that job is more pressure, probably one of the most pressured jobs in all the sports. Being an offensive lineman, being a center, and you can't hear a damn thing. Being a tackle, you can't hear nothing. Right now in football now, the guards are turning around, telling the snap count. There's a lot of responsibility that we have to do. Not just block your guy one-on-one. It takes studying film. It takes studying opponents. It takes figuring out blitzes and blitz concepts. So that job, it takes first individually as an individual player. You have to have that self-pride to want to be dominant yourself. I think for young guys, you guys got to figure out, what does being dominant mean? Does dominant mean running to the football? Does it mean, picking your teammate up or finishing guys on film? Does it mean you're going the whole game, no pressures, no sacks? So individually first, and then as a group of 5, you guys got to figure that out. But it starts with you individually wanting more for yourself. And lastly, I want to say too, all the great players to me play with a calmness. You see guys in training camp, you see the guys who get real hot-headed and they're in the huddle, and you can't even talk to them. Like, yo, man, you seen the last play? And he's, those guys won't last. The guys who play with a calm, what I call a cool brain. If your brain is cool and collect, you can sit in the huddle and hear the huddle call while still looking at your guy and talking to your left guard, but still being calm and communicate. Those are the great players. The guys who after 1-2 plays, they huffing and puffing. They're in great shape, but they're overriding their brains. And we see every year young rookies come in, and training camp and mini camp is so much for them that they can't calm themselves down. The great players play with a calmness, to where I think Jeff said it the other day. Sports said the other day, said he gets irritated at the guys who look like they're barely doing anything but dominate. You know what I mean? So to me, that takes self-reflection. It takes, I was telling Duke all the time, I think pass blocking to me is a spiritual thing. The guys who are, those guys are not great pass protection. We watch Tyron, we watch Lane. These guys are just smooth operators, and guys just understand the game, understand angles, understand what technique that I'm gonna do, instead of being so riled up over who that person is, understanding more about your own self, about your limitations and what your strengths are. Because best believe, in the NFL, these guys study your strengths and weaknesses. They're D-line coaches in a dark room with the lights off, watching 1,000,000 pass rushes on you. So whatever your weaknesses are, they're going to find them. It's like the equivalent of when you're a young guy early in the season, you can't stop the ET games or the E-nose games. You're going to see them shits all year until you stop them. You know what I mean? So it's best to put out fires early on. And I think it starts with your own self-reflection of finding out what kind of player am I going to be. You know what I mean? So.
I'll be quick. I love, all these guys' passion for the game. Smart, tough, physical, the stuff that Hutch talked about. You guys have all heard the saying, cliche, the best ability is availability. That's bullshit. The best ability is responsibility. The best ability is accountability. And if you're responsible and you're accountable, you'll play on Sunday, regardless of how you feel. So that to me was always bullshit. Man, I play because it means something to me. I play because that's the way I was built. There's a pride. I didn't play a game.
How many knee surgeries, Mark?
I had 20 knee surgeries over the course of my career, and 29 total surgeries. And I'm just gonna line up and I'm gonna play. And there's a badge of honor going out and feeling like shit and still knowing I'm gonna whip somebody's ass, regardless of how I feel. And that to me is, again, that collective nature of playing offensive line where we are more important than me. And you can't be good, guys. I came in the league, played for the Hogs. In 1991, we went 19 games to a world championship. We gave up 9 sacks in 19 games total. And there's a pride that goes into playing that position. And, I learned it from the day I walked in the league with Russ Grimm and Joe Jacoby and Jeff Bostic and Mark May. And there was a pride. Offensive line is the backbone of any football team. The quarterback bullshit. Nothing gets done if we don't work. Nothing gets done if we don't dominate. Nothing. We can't snap the ball. Nothing gets done unless we're the backbone and we are the pride of the organization. And we set the tone. Practice can't be good unless we're good up front. Games can't be good. As much as the game has changed, and it changes, and I study it consistently like the rest of the guys, it changes. But it doesn't change? You dominate the line of scrimmage, you know what? You're going to win about 85% of your games. There's going to be a handful of games where somebody gets beat or whatever the case may be. But if you dominate the line of scrimmage, you win. That will never change, ever. You dominate up front, you win games. It's just the way it works. So those things to me, the responsibility, the accountability, that's non-negotiable. Because if you have those things, you will play. The other thing Hutch talked about putting on film, dude, don't play with a body clock. You can watch guys 1,001, 1,002, and the play should be gone, right? And I stop. Bullshit. Don't play with a body. Don't play with a body clock. Set the tone in everything you do as a group. Set the tone. And to me, like I said, that we are the backbone of any organization. We're the backbone of the football team, and we have the ability in every practice to set the tone of our football team. And if you do that, you'll have a good football team, regardless of who the other guys are. And that's just my, we always joke around when I was playing. The further you get away from the football, the less guys know about it, right? Those guys out in the water, and those receivers running around, they don't know shit about football. But the closer you get to the football, the more you have to understand the game. And so those were always kind of the non-negotiables that I always felt were important to have a great group.